Dee, dee, dee. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to the sale. Now, welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Albob. I am your sensei, your shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist, right? And I'm here to tell you a story. I'm a griot. That's what griots do. We tell you a story, and don't believe a word I say. Let the story kind of go over you, and make up your own mind. That's what put us on this earth to do. So I don't know if you kids have gone to my xratted.blogspot.com and looked at my writings. I'm working on a new novel called Legend. I have Legacy up there. It's not, I had a lot of cuts up there showing you the progression of that novel. And so the latest version of Legacy was Legacy 13, right? So go read that. But I'm working on a new one called Legend, right? And basically, I live in the clasp of the buckle belt of the Bible, right? So I'm always sitting here in my office, and there are people always over there talking, and I always hear them going on about the Bible and God and how God hates this and God hates that and God doesn't hate anything. God made everything. We are God. We are God. We are like and the story of Gilgamesh is a good example. Gilgamesh was 3/4 God and 1/4 human. That's kind of us, right? Now, all our relations, all are hoofed and warm-blooded, cold-blooded, skinned and furred and feathered and scaled family. They are one, loves one love, one loves love, right? So because they just do exactly how they were created, right? And they, don't question anything. They don't start wars. They're not, the lion doesn't go up and kill a ton of elk or zebra. He's by the watering hole under the tree, got the best sight. And the kids are hungry, so Mama Lion gets up, looks around, kind of stretches, giving the sign to because everybody's around the watering hole. Everybody. So all the gazelles and zebra and those guys, they kind of like start moving away, go over. They're like putting the watering hole between them and the lion. Where there's Larry over there, and Larry's kind of like, sprained his ankle, right? So he's kind of limping. So he's just, oh wow, everybody's left. I can like really eat the grass here and drink the water. So he's only thinking about himself. And all of a sudden, he kind of really realizes that they've all gone to the other side of the watering hole, and he's seeing the lion look at him like this, and so he goes, uh-oh. And this is when Larry goes, okay, obviously I'm toast, so I'm not going to like run to where my brothers and sisters are. I'm going to go the other way. And he does. He kind of takes off, right? And the lion kind of watches him go and says, okay, he's going that way. He's going to come around that way because the hill's here, so I'm just going to go right over here. And he just waits for Larry to, and then Larry, turns and, snaps his leg. And, lion just kind of kills him, right? Drags him back to the kids, and the kids have lunch. The lion doesn't go and kill tons of folk. No, just that, right? Whereas humans, we kill old folks and children first, all the innocents. All you have to do is look at the last, 20 years of war, and the United States is always going to war on an excuse, You know, Spanish-American War was the main. You know, they went and kind of, you know, when they had really good technology in the 90s, they went and explored the Maine and found that it was sunk by an explosion from inside the boat. Right? And basically, at Pearl Harbor, all the Navy guys loved being sent to Pearl Harbor because they had dormitories, so they had to stay in the boat. It's pretty sucky because they're like on hammocks. It was not fun to be on a boat. And they had no, you know, and everybody. It was hot hammocking. You know, 3 or 4 people shared the same hammock, and you know, they had like that much storage space. And so the Navy guys loved hot life because they weren't on board a ship; they were in a dormitory. Most of them had their own room, but the week, you know, a few days before Pearl Harbor happens, December 7th, 1941, all of those guys are ordered back to their ships. And the Navy had brought in all of these old ships from the Spanish-American War that they were going to scuttle, but they brought them all into the harbor and parked them right next to each other, not like with space, you know, but put them, no, I take that back. These boats used to always be like that so they could just go from boat to boat without having to go around. They put space between them so the boats could flip over. Right? So all these guys were on board these ships, and you know, the newest ships were taken, the aircraft carriers, the destroyers, all those guys. The new ones were taken out to sea, and the only things that were left were the old battleships, etc. So they're on there, and when the Navy, the chaps came in, it was like, you know, and they turned off the radar. You know, they had the radar set on top of the mountain, could have seen these airplanes coming, you know, 40 minutes before they got there. They turned it off. They were ordered to turn it off. And the guy didn't turn it off, right? Because he knew that if he turned it off, it would be a real pain in the butt to turn it back on. And so he left it on. And he saw the Japs coming. He got, hey, there's somebody coming in. You're supposed to turn that off. I said, well, but hey, there's somebody coming in. Well, we have a flight of B-17s coming in. No, this is like the whole sky is lit up. It's not B-17s. Turn that thing off. You know, that's a direct order. So he had to turn it off. And they didn't do anything. They had 40 minutes, didn't do anything. Right now, that's what is a conspiracy theory. There are a lot of books about this. A lot of historians done a lot of research, you know. You don't believe a word I say. You know, the Bay of Tonkin, you know, don't believe a word I say. You know, we kill 6 million Asians, and 50-something thousand of our kids die, and another 6 million come back vegetables and legless and addicted to heroin. And that was really, go watch the movie French Connection. I mean, it gives a perfect example. You know, why would a French there? Heroin. Look about. So here we are, 2020, right? And you know, we have the two biggest morons running for president. What I would have loved to see is Tulsi Gabbard, you know, war hero, woman of color, indigenous person, you know, really smart. She would have eaten Donald Trump for lunch. Just for entertainment's sake, they should have put her on there, or at least vice president. So she could have gone after, Mr. Pence. But, you know, when she was running for president, they wouldn't even let her speak. They put her on, you know, she had more. They kept changing the bar about, you know, whether you're going to be part of it or not. She was always leading the pack. So, kids, you know, this world we live in is, and it's, you know, we aren't nation states. We live in a corporate oligarchy, the whole planet. You know, Mr. Putin, Mr. Bossier, all of the tough guys are just employees, you know, and everybody else is too. It's like, come on. So, What do you guys want to talk about? So they reopened my office here, which is good. A lot of people really, I mean, they were down in town with the burning torches and the pitchforks. And so, you know, again, this place is a perfect example. You know, what does the 19 show us? It shows that the level of incompetence of our political leadership. And someone says, you can't blame us for that. I said, moron, you voted for him. I don't vote because I don't want to be blamed for, you know, when there is no real choice, when the same thing happens over and over again, I'm from the George Carlin school. So my whole thing is to be sweet and nice to all the people around me, to help everyone I can, on a one-to-one level, because that's all I can do, because I am the poster boy of, thank you, sweetheart. You're the best.
There you go.
Can I have a little lid?
Uh-huh.
Okay. It keeps it warm. And there's nobody here now. Thank you, darling. So, what do you guys want to talk about? Ask me a question. That's what I'm good for. I'm your sensei. And my experience. Someone asked me the other day when I was in my car. This is much better. I got the table. They bring me coffee. It's air conditioned. I'm not in the sun. I like it. So, what was I saying? Oh, yes. Someone asked me about vaccines. And you should go see somebody. So I got a lot of people getting a hold of me at Gmail. And which, if you want to get a hold of me, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. I actually do look. I do go. I mean, I get about 190 messages a day, and I just hit the all button, which shows them all, and I can easily go through and see who's the human and what's the spam and the advertisement and all that crap. So the three of you, how about some thumbs up? Come on. So the vaccines. So I was at EMT. I worked in medical. When my draft board finally caught up with me in like 1971, they, I didn't break the law. They just could never find me. I didn't burn my draft card. I didn't do anything against the law. I just kept. That was my traveling America time. Between 69 and 71, and so they finally got a hold of me. I went down to the draft board, and they said, okay, I was ready to be. I was wearing women's underwear and stockings and high heels, and I couldn't understand how women would wear this stuff. It was so freaking uncomfortable. And then I realized, it's meant to make them uncomfortable, because when you wear high heels, it pushes your chest down, right? Anyway, so the guys kind of looked at me and said, really? Come on. How long did you study at Trinity College? And did I ever friggin' enjoy? What are you nuts? Trinity is a great place. It is, the Library of Alexandria. That's where most of the books went to, right? To the Druids. And they have, they have a college that have, it's a university that has lots of these colleges in it. And they were like little communities. And everybody was really great. And first days I was there, I went there to study theater, and they kind of looked at me and said, no, you got to understand Irish culture first, so go over to those guys. So I went over there, and that's when I met Archie, who is a Scottish scholar, and he had a chair there, and he was studying and so he became my he just kind of glammed onto me, and he gave me ticket to go into the library that was the reserve library of this information in this college, which the average person doesn't get in. And they gave me a little carrel, a little little space, with shelves and drawers down below, and a nice light right there. So you had this book really well lit up. And that's, when I started to meditate and go into my Akashic record, that was the library I'd always see, is that, you know, reserved library, and it's just walls and walls, and all there was books, ancient books, big books, right? And that's why I met the old crone. So I had two people, Archie and the old crone, as my guides, teachers, friends, and they had gravitas like you couldn't believe. I mean, when I went to talk to the guy head of my college, and I said, "Listen, I've just met this lady. Actually, he goes, I heard you met the old crone, and she actually talked to you, and has invited you to her garden spot, up there on the West Coast." I said, "Yeah, so." Can I take that as my teaching rather than say, "Oh, yes, 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 please"? I mean, I've known her 50 years. She never talks to me. She went and talked to you on her own. I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah. Archie told her about you." And so it's like, "Hey, Anthony. Hey, lunch lady." And so that's, so I would be there. I would come back and hang with Archie and do stuff at Trinity. Trinity's a great school, great people. It's right in Dublin. Dublin's a great town. I mean, it's not the town that it was when I was there. In 1988 was the last time I was in Ireland and Dublin, and they signed the Maastricht Treaty. And when I went back in '05, that was the last time I was in Dublin. I took some rich people there as their guide. They paid me and paid for the airplane ticket, and paid for the airplane ticket of my girlfriend and paid her way too. So, bottom line was, Dublin was turned into, Brussels. Connell Street which used to have these old oaks line the avenue, and that's where the English and the Romans hung the Druids. They clawed it all down, lined it out, and it was like, no shade, no nothing, and put up all these modern. They took all the statues of the old great heroes of Ireland and put up these, stupid modern sculptures that didn't mean anything, points and ice cream cones. I mean, it was like, what? And so when I was there in 1969, Ireland was amazing, right? And Trinity was amazing, right? Now it still has that energy. I think I told you. So it's interesting. Here is like, there's a big river that goes through Dublin, right? And it's also kind of a port, but not really. And so there are different parts of Dublin because the English and the Irish, so they're different. It's very class or almost. English were really into the caste system, which was more serious than, and that's America. America is not, it's not racist, it's not class, it's caste. So Dublin was, after the revolution, and when I was there in '69, it was in '70, it was a great town. Art, music, thousands of lots of pubs, which had pretty good food for Ireland, and everyone had music and was always playing, and guys reading poetry, and it was the bomb. Not so much anymore. And so the main part of the town was kind of where the post office was, and O'Connell Street was the kind of branch, and all the political buildings, courts, all that kind of stuff were over there. And then the main road of O'Connell came up, and the river was over here. And if you went to the right, it went in a big circle, and that's where the rich Irish, and above that was where the rich English had been. And in between was, their commerce for the well-to-do. And so they basically, all those big houses at the top were still for the rich, but that, commerce for the rich, and then the rich Irish people, all that became offices and shops, very classy shops. It had a big, beautiful circle, and there was a big park over here. And that circle kind of came over to where the left fork in that road was, and that's where that road went all the way out to the river. And on this side of that was up on the hill, Trinity, and then there was the whiskey brewery and the beer brewery, which was a big tourist site because you went to the tour and you could get drunk. They give you all the beer you wanted, all the booze, and they had Paddy's, my favorite whiskey, Paddy's Irish whiskey. But that road this was a whole section of the town, which was like the Harry Potter Druid mystery school kind of part of town. And only old timers and people who lived there. And, it was also, there were a number of pubs that a number of the people who were the scholars of all these different colleges would go and hang out. And it was like, the sociologists and the physics so if you really wanted to learn something, you went in those pubs. You want to learn physics, you go to that because those guys would get drunk and really tell you about physics, right? So Archie, he had his own he didn't have his own pub, but this one pub, he had like his own little dining room, Archie's dining room. And, he would hold court. And anyway, so you kind of took this road, which again was another main road that went through all of this down to the river. And there were lots of other roads off it, into cul-de-sacs where the people had, houses and apartments and stores and stuff like that. And there was one that was totally, the Romans hung the Druids from the oaks. They weren't aware of the fact, that those guys just didn't die, Jesus wasn't the only one who didn't die. It's like in Princess Bride, Magic Max, when they take, our buddy, our hero, and he's like dead. All this life has been sucked out of him. And he's like limp. And, Magic Max goes, the big guy and the other guy go, is he dead? And Matt goes, well, he is dead, but he's not all dead. He's just kind of dead. And that was pretty much the Druids, Because when you went to this section and went down this alley, it was a whole other town. It was like, from the 1400s, people were wearing not like 20th century clothes. And they didn't look at you strange. And there was a place where it was like 2 brick walls, and it was like an alley, not like a road or anything, but an alley, And you looked there, and it was like foggy. It was like a mist. You walk through the mist, boom, it's a road. It's like a town. It's like sunny. No matter how much it was raining in Dublin, if you went through that mist, it was sunny. And then that's where Archie took me to the tea house. Actually, no, the old crone took me to the tea house. Archie would go in there, but he was, I don't know if it made him anxious or what it did, but I hung out there. I love that place because it had a store. And once I went into the store, it had it was like Madame Blavatsky's curiosity shop on Lexington in New York City when I was 9 years old. The store was just like that. And anything you thought you wanted, if you went through the piles enough, you would find it, whatever, right? Just like I went downstairs and found myself a breaker because this place has a whatchamacallit shop down below. And instead of freaking having to drive 30 miles to Lowe's, here it is, right? 10 miles from my house. Anyway, next time you're in Dublin, let me know. So, Anthony, how old are you, and do you remember the difference between 1988 and 2005? When I went to 2005, I went to check up on all my old friends on the West Coast. And all the old guys were already dead, but their kids or grandkids had their property from 21. So does your mother or your grandma tell you about old Dublin? Have you ever found the little alley? I mean, how I described Dublin pretty much is what it is still today, right? I mean, it may be fancier, it may have sky. I mean, Dublin never had skyscrapers. Does Dublin have skyscrapers in it now? Because when went back in 2005, I was so sick because when I was there in the 80s, Dublin, I mean, Ireland had everything it needed, had health care. I mean, I once had an abscess tooth, and I was in a little teeny town, called Glendore on the west coast, on the road between Skibbereen and Galway. And I was in the county where Skibbereen was. I was about 30 miles, between it and let's see. I love hearing you talk tales. I love native cultures, studying anthropology, but only for a term before I dropped out. See, the thing about going to school is don't, go on the matriculating track of doing it. Go find the best teachers that were there and study with them as their student, as you are my students. You are my adepts. I have listened to your old crone story and got a kick from your interaction with her horse. Yes, when I drank the third pot and they all wanted to go into Comby and go down to the pub and get a beer, and I was, I got all the chickens and the ducks and the goats in it, and the pigs, but the horse was hard to get in there. And the horse kept saying, "No, I don't think the old crone's gonna like this. I'm not gonna get in." I'm like, pushing. No, you gotta get in there. And that's when she showed up, looking at me like, so you drank the third pot, didn't you? What did I say? Don't drink the third pot. And that's because she had been talking about, you should stay here. I haven't had a student like you in a long time. And that I just basically disappointed her. Not disappointed, disobeyed, because she knew I was going to drink it anyway. That was just a test. And it's not that I failed the test, I just went a different direction, right? And that's the other thing. So in the story I'm writing, XRATTE, X-rated, xratted.blogspot.com, and the story I'm writing now, which is in there, is called Legend. And it's about love, because I'm looking at the story of the two stories in the Bible that I really like a lot are the story of Adam and Eve, and B, the story of Job. Because basically, when you read it, you see that the devil and God are buddies. They're like drinking buddies, They're up there and they're like smoking boo and drinking patties and God, look at my man Job down there. He's always praying. He's always loving me. He's always, And the devil says, yeah, anybody would. Look at all the stuff. You look at it, he's got the big farm, the kids, the money, the bling, everything. Take it away. See what he says. He will curse you. And the God says, okay. Not like, oh, I couldn't do that. That wouldn't be right. That'd be mean. No. God says, sure, why not? So he just makes poor Job's life miserable. And the story about Adam and Eve, it's just like the story of me and the old crone when, they, I didn't disappoint her. I just took a certain path. And that was the same, there's Adam and Eve being in, and they were like Gilgamesh, 3/4 God, 1/4 like all the rest of their relations. And God goes, you can have anything you want, do anything you want, have a good time. I'm here to, I want you to be happy. But see that tree over there? Do not eat that fruit. Right? And so Eve kind of goes over there and is looking at it. And, God didn't say, don't go over there and don't look at that tree. God said, don't eat of that fruit. Right? And if you read the Hebrew of the Old Testament, it doesn't say the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And it Just says
That's what it is all about.
the tree of knowledge, right? Not even truth, knowledge, right? So what is knowledge? Knowledge is a friggin' lie. So, Eve goes up there and the devil tells him a story, and Eve just loves the story. Yeah, God never tells Adam and Eve stories, just tells them, I love you, Let's just have fun playing, right? It doesn't really clue them in to anything, right? I mean, they're three-quarters God, you're made in my image and likeness, Why did God freaking even invent, and in the beginning all things were dark. And the only thing there was God. So God was dark. Then it was light. And who was that light? But Satan. Satan is the light, the illuminated one, the light giver, the most beautiful angel. So my story is all about that. And again, it has all the characters in it that are in Legacy, but even more. Because all these stories kind of, connect. There's going to be more than a trilogy. God knows how many of these are going to be. And so our hero, your Al Bob, Sensei Al Bob Doctor, that's his, nom de plume there. And he's a lucky bastard. So he is kind of like Adam was, He's the first one of that next. He's not just Homo sapiens sapien. He's this next thing. And he's still a dweeb. He's still a moron, But he's a little more empathetic. He's a little more, he's all about coming from here than from the steel trap. And what's interesting about this character, he's not only a transsexual, he is man and woman because Eve was made from Adam's friggin' rib. Right? So, so I take all of what's in the Bible, being a Bible scholar, I can do this, and then I put it on its head, right? And again, I use grammar and spelling to just make it go, like every, letter that's like for sure, for, anything that with a four, I just put the number 4, right? And every 2, TO, TOO, TWO is just a number 2. I mean, do stuff like that just to make it go like this, right? And so I would really like it if you were to go to that and just see what's on there, at X-Rated, Griot Publishing. You put it in the little box with the looking glass and xratted.blogspot.com. Bingo, you go right there. And then there'll be a little note. This is pornographic. Because I spelled it XRATTD, the little algorithm in there said, "Oh, must be dirty," but we're gonna let them do it. So I spelled it XRATT for a reason because it's X-ratted. For all those rats out there. So there's I found a stack of CDs, and I'm playing them now. And there's this one band called Gorilla. Oh, that's the name of the album, and it's like from at least 5 to 10 years ago. It's pretty hot, And Arrested Development is another one of these things I found. And then I found all of the old David Bowies I had, and I found all of my old Allman Brothers, right, and the Blues Brothers. So I had a bunch of old 1950s, 60s black blues. Not Elvis. So let's see, you've been going for half an hour. It's about 10:55. I'll go on. 5 will be there. Hey, one thumbs up. So, so that's what I've been fooling around with. Weather has been off the hook. We've had tornadoes and those srirachos, but not in my little holler, 20 miles over here, 40 miles over there, 100 miles over there. And luckily for me, I've been getting a lot of rain. My feet, I have diabetic legs. I have charcoal legs. I have a bunch of things. And my orthopedic shoes I got 4 years ago when I had good health care. They so I had a bunch of old shoes that were already worn out and I've been wearing those, and they've just been screwing with my legs work. So I went to Walmart's and tried on all the shoes. Like I was in the motorized shopping cart, and I just went from shoe to shoe and found one that actually somewhat supported my leg and foot, and put it on a flat thing, and it was kind of cushy, but it was a swimming shoe. So problem with it was not made out of something that would insulate my foot. It was like a screen door. So it's been raining like since May. We have had close to 300 inches of rain since May. That's like, what? Oh, I'm kind of on top of the mountain, a little holler. I got good drainage out of there. I got French drains everywhere. I covered the whole place years ago with Crush Run and then let everything grow up over it. So all the trees, all the plants, all the bushes, everybody gets lots of water and lots of drainage. But my poor little feet was running around in that water, and so they started to rot. I went to my doctor, and he kind of cut it off. Because when you have, diabetes and you have diabetic legs and feet, that occurs, you then get these diabetic sores that then turn into lots of things, and it can take off like that, and then they have to chop your legs off. And so I'm very clued into that. So I went to him, and he said, okay. So he kind of, buffed them up and scraped the crap off and wrapped my feet up and said, well, you need to go, get yourself some new shoes and some of those diabetic socks. I have no money. So he gave me $40. My doctor. That's a good doctor. So I went and bought a sack of diabetic socks, the crappy working man socks, $7 for 20, right? The diabetic socks, 4 for $15. It's like, what? And there's really not that much difference between them. So then, I was looking around for a shoe in Walmart, but I'd already looked at all the shoes, and my little screen door shoes were the closest thing to a good shoe for my feet. And so I went over to Goodwill. Then I went to the Christian thrift store, and it was like amazing. Went over to their shoe thing, and all the shoes were crappy and crumbled, and they should have just thrown them away. But there were two. Oh, I can't wake up high enough. 2 beautiful orthopedic shoes waiting for me, brand freaking new in a box with, the things that they put in a mold. I put in my feet was like they made the mold for my feet. Like God was like, okay, I went over there and said, how much for these? And they go, boy, those look weird. How about $2? I said, that's the last orthopedic shoes I got. Cost me $500. So, when you have faith in love co-creation, you just have to be patient. It's like one leg of my electrical system. I knew the breaker I put in there, it's the only breaker I had at the time. And I knew it was a little punky. And one, it's not tripping. The little piece of metal, that bimetallic metal in there, just decides at some point to do this and disconnect one leg. So half the electricity works, but the other half doesn't, right? And I took it all apart, and I took the thing, and and anyway, so that's why I got this, and I came here, and this place just still does have the hardware store downstairs, and the guy went down and he dragged us out. And, it's got like $25 a thing. He goes, how much can you afford to pay for? And I said, I don't know. I got like $5. It's okay. Because I bought this thing since 1972. I think it's amortized. So, so that's how it works, you know. So, as my grandma would say, live like a millionaire, don't be one. So I live. My place is like unbelievable, beautiful. Everything, even the raccoons have, I, basically instead of mulching my food from my garden, and if I did that, they would eat it anyway. But I put it over on the side of my property away from me where they are, and I just kind of, we sat down at a conference table, had a little UN flag on it, and we negotiated that I would just dump that over there for them, and they would leave because they would just go into my stuff, and they were like teenagers. I mean, they weren't in; they were just messing the place up. Mike Bing, how you doing, buddy? Anthony's here, and Lunch Lady's here. Well, I get the vaccine. Bottom line is, even my doctor, I said, so you're going to get this thing? He goes, well, you and I are, basically in the same, we're both about the same age, and we're both, got issues. And so he goes, well, and I'm a doctor, and I'm like, right, and see, he's not even near me. I have to go see him in another state. Anyway, he said, I'm going to wait and see, after he says, probably, kick in start inoculating, the people and, all the healthcare folk and people like that. And, they won't have vaccines for a guy like me until next year. So, if, I get a flu shot, I'm not against vaccines. Like I said, I started off this thing, starting to wind my way into my experience with vaccines, and and I said I worked in the medical scene first. When my draft board got a hold of me, I went instead of like waiting online in my underpants, which I girls underpants on and socks and high heels. They sent me upstairs to see Captain So and So, and so I went up there, and he lifted this big, file. He goes, "That's you." And I go, "Really?" He said, "Yes, we've been looking for you for a long time, and we've been watching you before, back from first grade on." I go, he goes, "Well, your dad is a bird colonel, and in SAC, and we have a, we look at your whole family." So anyway, I go, "So what's in there?" He goes, "It should be made into a novel." And he's looking at me. I got my legs crossed, and I've got the high heel, and he starts laughing. He goes, just roll those pants up a little bit." He goes, nice, stockings. What kind of underpants you got? I said, pink, with frills. And he just goes, "Listen, we don't think we can trust you with a gun, but how would you like to do alternative service?" And I was like, yeah, yeah. So I was first in Vista, and they sent me down south, which I had already been in '68 and a bit of '69, and I was put in this school district that they were trying, the courts were dealing with, segregated, integrated schools, and so they wanted me to go to this really black school and try and get it up a little bit. So she said, "See, it's not that bad," and I did, and I did too good of a job. Meaning, I shot because his kids didn't even read, and I got them to read like that and read like above their high school level. The grammar school was reading above the white guys, um, you know, level. And I was, we were reading, classics, Shakespeare, the Greeks, Oedipus, Virgil, Homer, all the above. And I was teaching their parents and their grandparents how to read so they could pass the voter, literacy test, right? And I had gotten a copy of the literacy test, and it was like a joke because it was all this esoteric knowledge about law that even lawyers don't know. So I got it. I taught all these white people what the answers to all these questions were, and they went in there and took the test, and they knew the frigging answer. And the guys were like, "Wow, how do you know that?" He goes, "Well, I'm literate." So after about 4 months of doing that, they got rid of me. So they sent me back to New York, and I went to work at Fort Hamilton, right in Brooklyn. And my boss was an amazing guy. He was a bird colonel, Army surgeon, 70-something years old, was in World War II. During World War II, was a young, he's in his 20s. And he was in the Philippines. The Japs overran it, so he went up. He didn't get caught. He didn't walk on the death march. He was up there as a doctor for the guys sniping at the Japanese. And he was up there. He was a surgeon. There was a Chinese herbalist and a Filipino psychic healer who could just and pull out the bullet. No cutting up, no suturing, and then the wound would close and heal. And then the Chinese guy would put a poultice on it, and it was good to go. Well, there's only 2 of you left. So anyway, so I was just a bedpan guy. I had real long hair. I drove a motorcycle. I had a leather jacket, flip-flops, pink shorts, and the head guy, Colonel, head of this whole hospital, comes in and comes up to me. I never talked to this guy. I knew who he was. I said, I'm the son of a colonel. So I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he goes, Rhodes. Hello, sweetie. So the guy goes, Al, I've been watching you, and you're going to be my protege. I said, what? I go, what are you talking about? I said, you're a surgeon. I'm a freak. He goes, that's what I'm looking for. Because I've been watching you. You're the most empathetic guy I've ever seen. I see how you treat all these people. Everybody else treats them like vegetables. You treat them like human beings, like individuals. You go straight to their personality, and you make them better. There's only one of you left. And Rhonda, why don't you give me a thumbs up, girl? So so he sent me off to study. That's when I was sent up to Putney, Vermont, to study with a Japanese Shinto priest, right? And that's where I learned to be, a psychosocial, cultural, forensic anthropologist. I mean, I was already that, but I was going in that path, right? And also a shamanic guy and an alchemist guy. Shamanic is a frame, a cultural frame. You gotta understand somebody's psychology. You gotta understand their social orientation. To understand that, you gotta understand their cultural, where they came from, where grandma and grandpa came from, what they ate for holidays. And then you have to forensically, meaning pull the threads apart, not look at any, box. And anthropologically, you're supposed to take off your, prejudicial glasses and put on the grass skirt. And alchemy is to turn base metals into gold. And what's that gold? It's not like bling. It's your soul. It's that thread between your lower chakras through your higher chakras up to your Akashic record and into your, superconscious mind, where God lives inside of you. Right? Thank you, Rhonda, for giving me a thumbs up. So that's so I've been in medicine. So I've seen what vaccines do. I know how they work. I know what they are. But this one's a joke because they don't even know what this virus is. And to make a vaccine, you have to do this thing called the Koch postulate. Koch was a guy in the 19th century. He was able to isolate the biological reference of the sickness, right? And so he would take the blood of somebody who was sick, and they would take this out, take that out, what he could, and all the way down to what was left. And then he would take that and put that in a mouse, and the mouse got sick, like the way the guy was sick. He said, okay, this is causing that sickness. Then he would take that apart and see what affected that and what affected an immune response. And that's called the Pope postulate. They haven't even done that. And all they know is the RNA strand. And all the RNA strand is just a string of molecules. And that's it. A virus has no DNA. It's an RNA strand of molecules. But the one thing they can see is that this string was created artificially by CRISPR, because when CRISPR is used, it leaves a telltale sign. Because when you have one viral construct, and then there's another one, but normally that wouldn't occur, but CRISPR allows it to be done, well, it's CRISPR. So the first part of the strand has AIDS kind of postulate, and that's why people get infected and don't know they are for 14, 20, 30, whatever many days. Then this happens and this happens and this happens. So that's pretty much a biological weapon. The biological weapons mostly are manufactured not to kill a lot of people, but it's to distract and disrupt the cultural dynamic. Because what a biological weapon wants to do is get a lot of people sick, not dead, sick. And it has a little time clock in it, so it kind of changes. And usually it's a 3-year thing. And if you go to Cliff Hyde's Truly Thinking or something like that, he's a guy who spent his career, he's a computer guy who computer modeled, and he computer modeled nuclear war, chemical war, biological war. And this whole thing, and back in February, he was going on about how this is this, and this is what will work, and blah, blah, blah. So, and he was the first one to talk about the drug that is used for malaria. And he said, well, this ain't the cure, but what this will allow to happen is that it allows entrance. The thing that would really kill this is vitamin C does, certain mushrooms do, and something I'm blanking out. It's one of these that I take. And all of that malaria drug does is, here's what I take instead of, this is, cinnamon for my diabetes. This is other herbs for my diabetes. And this is a really great, got everything in it pill. Right? I'm going to keep that like that. These are my supplements. Okay. Well, we're getting towards an hour, and I have things to do. So, bottom line about any medical health thing is, one, you have to, doctor, heal thyself. You have to be your own doctor. Right? And working at the VA was amazing. I learned a lot of stuff. Then when I came out, I kept bumping into the medical world. I started working for a company that, when CAT scans came on, I would wire the hospital for that. And I wired a couple of hospitals, which are very interesting things to wire because really, you got to be right. And because people's lives were at stake. And so I did that. So I was around hospitals in them, being the technical guy, not in the road. So I could talk to everybody. I'd read everyone's palm, and from the top guy to the janitor, we get the scoop on what was going on medically. And then I was in Ithaca at Cornell, and I joined a volunteer fire department in a little town called Varna. And we were right at where Interstate 91 went across another one, and they didn't build a clover lift. It was just like that. So our little house, we responded at least once to 5 times a week to like war level tests, like big truck rolls over a little car, and I was the guy they sent off to the EMT school. So, because I had a, hospital medical background, and I volunteered. I said, I think I could do this pretty well. I have I learned a lot about, the body and this and that. I'm kind of got this little degree in, master's in social work, so I'm a shrink, so I can deal with trauma and shock and things like that. So I did. And so they taught, when I went to EMT school, I learned how to do a airway. I learned how to put in a line. I learned how to catheter things, and like somebody's colon gets ruptured or something. There's a way to stop that and to catheter that away. So he doesn't go into septic shock, or you can get him to the hospital. I learned, those are pretty advanced, pretty invasive things. So I learned that. So I had, and when I would put a line next to people, I just didn't just give them, saline, or what, hydrate them. I would put things in it, to, mellow out their pain, or, there were a lot of things you could give to people that were, on the level of vaccine, and so I saw the good of them, and I saw other things later in the O's where and I, again, kind of got involved in the medical scene again, and I changed a great deal. I left it in the 80s when the HMOs were taking over the hospitals. And so whenever profit is involved, I'd watch out. But it's not to say that, I'm old enough to remember people who got polio. When I was a kid, my whole school, half of it got polio, So you think this 19 is scary? Being, the only thing you move is your mouth, So, and the chicken pox, German measles, these were all things that killed kids, And I was a really sick little kid up until I was 10 when I said, screw it, I am never getting sick again. I've never really been sick, I've had injuries, and my diet, all of the things that I got now are basically my genetics. My parents had it all, and I should have been, but I wasn't. Because I was taking care of them for 20 years. I took them to the doctors because they never said, oh, you have this, you have that. But now that I do the homework on what I have, and I go, well, it's just like my mom had, just like my dad had, So, that's how good those doctors were. They couldn't even tell these people that they had diabetes, so, and they were rich, or they thought they were rich. And so you have to be your own doctor. So that's my little thing about vaccines. You got to be your own doctor, right? So with that, I'm going to say when it hits 60, I will go off and do my chores. But they opened this place up. My Wi-Fi is working. My YouTube's working. My being able to go online and talk to you guys works. So I hope I got more than 1,200 shows on Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob. So, get a Rubik's Cube, throw dice, throw darts at a board. Get 3 numbers and go watch that show. Do everything by synchronistic methods, right? And that's all the Magic 8 Ball is. Magic 8 Ball, I have friends who the I Ching. Well, it's as good as the Magic 8 Ball. Magic 8 Ball is a lot quicker. And the problem with I Ching, now I do throw the I Ching, but I throw all of these tools because that's what they are, tools. You're a good carpenter, you use the tool right, and you do it like Plato said. It's a wise man who is guided by the stars. It is a fool who is led by them. So, I'm part of the Ronald Reagan School of Theology, where you trust but verify, And I'm a scholar, so I love verifying stuff. So, Uh, uh, so in the last 60 seconds, what's going on, Rhonda? I love you, babies. Here it is, 59:59 coming up. Bingo. No, not quite yet. When you look at it, it slows down. Now it's 1 minute, and it hits 1 minute 60 seconds. I'm going to sign up here. So, I don't know if I'll do it tomorrow. Well, I'll do it Monday or Tuesday again. Get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail if you want to personally talk to me. Rhonda, personally talk to me. And anybody else, Anthony, Lunch Lady, any of you guys. So, go to my xratted.blogspot.com. And, if you want to throw anything in my PayPal, I got that hooked up again. And so everything's running relatively smoothly. And, but again, it's all about patience. It's all about timing. Don't rush. And here we go. Okay. It's almost, there it is. I love you guys. Talk to you later. Remember, God bless you. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses. Was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without an end. And every day and every way we take a piece of love's world and make it stronger. Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory. Put your hands upon our shoulders. And keep us from evil so we will do no harm. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Watch my other shows. And I would suggest that you start putting them, get your 10 favorite and put it on a thumb drive or a CD or on your hard drive, because I think the internet is going to just, when Elon Musk gets, 50,000, right now we have about 4,800 satellites up there. Elon Musk's going to put up 50,000. So everyone's cell phone won't go to a tower, go straight to a satellite, right? And he is going to own the digital domain. And he's going to, everything digital will be Elon Musk. And all of these, Silicon Valley kids all went to the same school. I don't know if you kids ever watched Fringe, but there's a really smart guy and Spock who had the biggest. They were like the three richest guys: Mr. Amazon, Mr. Warren Buffett, and Billy Boy. Those three guys have more money than 80% of America. 80%. That's up into, from the poorest person to up into the millionaire class. They have more money than all of those people, like 200 something million people. Those three guys. This makes the Gilded Age look like nothing. So, Elon Musk, Mr. Facebook, Mr. Google, all of those guys went to the same kind of school that was set up by this oligarchy to pick really special people that they could wire and be the poster child for them. And that's what we got. We got the poster children of the new old oligarchy, right? The new dystopian, right? Player one, Remember to breathe through your nose. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Stay well. Be aware. Be awake.